It's a hot one out there today. Yeah, I've got it 78 in the shop and the air conditioner's wide open, but it's pretty nice in here. So I've got a 17 Rancher 420 today for a 100-hour service, and it's a good buddy of mine's, and he's ready to service it up. I think it's got about 128 hours, a couple hundred miles. What I want to show you guys is we've got a check engine light. So if you watch this, the long pauses are 10s, 1, 2, and the short ones are 1s, 1, 2, 3. So we got a 23, 1, that's 10, 2 is 20, 1, 2, 3, sort of like Morse code. So code 23, which is a heated O2 sensor heater circuit. I'm pretty sure, I have to double check. We'll get the manual out and make sure. But we're gonna go through here and service it up, look it over, see what all it needs. It has had a couple of oil changes before, of course, but we'll look at the air filter, check the valves. We'll test that heater circuit. It's probably gonna be an O2. If you had 10 Hondas with a code 23, 9.9 of them was gonna be a faulty heater inside the O2, but just wanna make sure that the wiring's good and all that. So let's get right into it, guys. We'll check it over good for them. First thing let's do is get the seat off. And we'll check his air filter. I sprayed it off a little bit before we brought it in, so don't have to deal with quite as much mud. Oh man, oh boy, there's nothing wrong with that. Somebody at some point got a little rough with this and missed the boat on putting that back in, but that's okay. All right, so the O2 sensor on these right back in there, if you guys can see it, and we'll measure that heater circuit. The heater circuit's going to be those two wires, white wires there, so we'll get it unconnected here. Those two wires there, we'll measure the resistance. Just always want to make sure you don't have any water or mud or anything on these. That looks pretty good. Yeah, let's get the meter and we'll measure that up. All right, so let's test our leads as always. Got 0 ohms. Like I said, it's going to be the two white wires. These little handy back probes I got from my gear wrench guy. I just cap them down over here. They work really well for this small wire testing, small wire terminal testing. All right, so that's out of range, all the way open. Definitely a heater circuit. Yep, okay. Let's double check. There's nothing wrong with the wire on the O2. Nope, it looks good. We just got an open heater circuit. Okay, we'll get an O2 ordered up. That'll get rid of his light for him. And then I think it could use one. Little black, probably from running with the O2 code. So we'll get him a plug for sure. That connector there, that is this is how we clear the codes and check the codes. This particular Rancher will go ahead and flash it out for you if it's got a code, and you don't have to jump it, but if you do, it's right there. So this customer wanted me to check the coolant protection level and possibly flush it, but Honda Blue coolant's usually good for 10 years, and that might just be throwing his money away. So let's take our Textron antifreeze tester here and let's just see how good his coolant is. All right, so we got 4 disc floating, and that means we're good to -26, and the coolant looks really good and blue, and it's all the way topped up. I think we're going to leave that alone. This gear wrench is just about perfect for this job, because you can get in there and turn that thing when you don't have a ton of room. It fits in there pretty good and grabs it usually and gets it right out of there for us. way less stuff to have to take off. Always look at that O-ring, make sure it looks good, and it does. Now what we want to do, turn this over until that opens and closes, and then we'll pull the plug, the top dead center readout plug out over there. So let's watch that valve open and close. We'll bump it over slowly. I need to be in neutral here. Okay, here we go. All right, so opening and then closing. All right, guys, it's not the most professional way, but for me, it's the easiest. I put this in 5th gear. After we watch that intake valve open and close, your next stroke up is compression. I take a zip tie, I put down in the cylinder like this, get it on top of the piston, and just start rocking it until that piston comes all the way to the top. All right, you want a completely cold engine, and we want 6 and 9,000. 6 intake, 9 exhaust. So let's check this intake valve here first. We'll go right between the stem and the adjuster. Just fits in there. A little bit of resistance, that's what you want. Perfect on that one. All right, let's check our exhaust, and we'll have that. It's very rare for a Honda's valves to move out of the blue. They can wear, but with regular service, you don't have to worry about it too much. I've probably adjusted 50,000 Honda valves or more in my life, and moved, just count on both hands how many I actually moved. All right, I got the 9,000ths in there. Fits really good. A little bit of play. So we're good. Put both hands in there. Sandwich this between your hands and get the 45 one. Get in there and get some leverage on it. It's not too bad. I would say if you had to move that a ton, or you hadn't done too many of them, you might want to pull that tank off. But to me, if you don't have to mess with none of this quick connect lines and stuff, I'm just going to leave that alone. So now all we have to do is put our valve covers back on and change the fluids in it. Put just a little bit of PJ1 on it. We don't need much. Plenty. Oh yeah. That's 1 out of 100 filters I take off that doesn't need to be cleaned. A lot of people forget their air cleaners on power sports equipment for some reason, and it's one of the most important things on small engines. Possibly more important than the engine oil filter in the short term. Okay, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take a little bit of Kroll and spray back in here on that O2 and just let it, I'm gonna leave it soaking until the new one comes in. That way we don't have to worry about stripping anything. You may hear 1,000 different opinions on penetrant. I use what works for me and has proven itself through the years. And for me, Kroll or .3 brake fluid is the best. My opinion only. Alright, so we finally got all the parts for the little 17 420 Rancher. As you remember, we diagnosed the O2 sensors faulty, so I got this from Partzilla. Called Edwards Motorsports. It got a super deal on it through them. I'm gonna drop a link below. This whole kit, air filter, plug, the engine oil filter, engine oil and diff fluid. It actually came with a rag and a funnel and some gloves too, and a spark plug. I normally buy the GN4 in the gallon jug usually, or the 5-quart jug rather, but this was just a good deal on this for the customer. He doesn't really need an air filter, but I'm gonna have him stick this in on the shelf, and he'll be good to go with that for the next time. So let's get this. First thing I'd like to do is get the O2 on, get that code cleared out. So that O2 is back in here. Get you guys some light on here. Back in there in the exhaust. So we're gonna get that screwed out of there if we can, and it's just simple plugs in right there. This is a cool little clip light from Trustfire here. Got a nice magnet. I'll drop a link below for it. It's got a ton of little features and it is absolutely super bright. Got red, green, and blue and just a ton of different features. Really neat. And flood and spotlight. But yeah, I've noticed it lasts pretty good for doing little jobs like this, and it's nice that you can just clip it right on and see what you're doing. So this is the Trustfire Mini C. I've been an affiliate for these guys, 800 lumens for a long time. This is really nice to clip on your pocket or on your backpack when you're camping or riding a bike. So this is their orange Mini C clip-on. So thanks guys out at Trustfire for sending that to us. 17 millimeter, and we're going to attempt to do this without tearing a bunch of plastic off. Let's see what we can do. It shouldn't be super tight in a bike this new, I wouldn't think. Oh yeah, came right out. Look at that. Thank you, Honda. So the heater circuit in this is bad. As you saw, I tested that circuit with the meter and it's open here. Let's we'll take it over to the bench and check it again. I'll show you guys. All right, we got our meter set to ohms. Okay, just so we know what we're looking for, let's check the new one first. And the heater circuit's always going to be your 2 white wires there. So just look for the connector that has the 2 white wires terminals. And we're going to put our little pin terminals on here. And we got it set to resistance. Now, if you guys watch my channel a good bit, you know that I'm a fluke meter person. So I just got this power probe just because it was on sale, and I really liked the display. I could see it good, and I figured you guys could see it good. And so far, it's been a really good meter. I've been using it a lot to check for parasitic draw and stuff. All right, so let's put the one here and this one here. Let's see what we're looking for. So we've got 15.9 ohms on that heater circuit right there, okay? That's kind of what it should be on a new sensor. Let's see what we got on this one. All right, so you see that? I've got it plugged into the 2 white wires. We can double check and make sure our meter's okay. Checking it for resistance there. We only got 0.2 of an ohm. So look at that. This heater circuit is burnt completely in two and open. OL. So that really confirms our suspicion that that was bad. I know we did it before on the bike, but just so you guys can see it on the bench. So let's we've got some NTCs from the factory on there. So let's see what this little sensor is. I bet it's an NTK or yep, NTK. So if you guys want to not have to go to the dealer, there's the number. See if I can read it. AZD 4003-HG012. Now that might be, no, that's not the part number, but here's the part number from Honda if you want to get it from, I got a really good deal on it from Partzilla. So we're a partner with Partzilla, a dealer for them, so they helped us out there. All right, let's get it on. All right, should just have to snug it up here a little bit. Doesn't have to be ridiculously tight because it might go bad again. There is a gasket on that new sensor that you want to compress, kind of like a spark plug. That should be plenty good right there. All right, let's plug it in. We left that connector in place so it's not in the way. Got to line that up just right. Your clip goes to the bottom. All there is to it. All right. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to clear itself out. It's going to do a self-test. We may have to jump it out and clear it. But let's just see. You can always unhook the battery. Well, so far, no check engine light. Let's put it in neutral and fire it up here. Oh, wow. You can already tell it's running 100% better. So it was surging and revving up and acting crazy before. No check engine light. Oh man, yeah. What you talking about? since this nice dash isn't showing that crazy light anymore, this calls for a little cleaning. Make you proud of it. Look at there. All right, so we can get on now with the fluid change. 16 millimeter on these Asian box spark plugs usually. All right, so the BKR 5E11, and it's a pre-gap from the factory. I checked it, and I'm not a huge fan of anti-seize, guys, on spark plugs. Coming from the racing world, it can cause a few issues, so I just put a little bit of grease. So this is a lubriplate, this is engine grease, internal engine lubricant, so I always use it on spark plugs. I'm not saying that in a utility setting anti-seize isn't a good idea, but it's fine on that O2. But in the racing world, it can contribute to detonation since it's metallic. All right, let's snug this up. That flex head Nepros works really good on this, and this is just snug, guys. You got a gasket going into aluminum, you don't want that over tightened. Always make sure this feels good and tight on there. This boot actually threads on that wire, and you want to make sure that's tight. Just a little bit of brake cleaner here. Since we're going to have this lid off, we don't want any dirt going in there, because that's what we're working against, is dirt by an oil change, right? So this just gets that good and clean. We don't want any dirt falling in there at all. Let's go ahead and clean this up too, so we don't get any dirt. Let's get our 8s out now. Just remember to put this back like you took it off. All right, I want to put a little bit of this oil around your seal here, and it actually tells you outside on that filter. Slide that in, and we got a new O-ring for this we want to put on there quick. We're up top right now. I thought we'd just do the filter. All right, let's put this little bit of oil that's left around that O-ring so it's good and lubricated. Make sure we got some around that. There's a little bit, a tiny little fragments of trash. It's just the tip of it's magnetic. Just make sure none of this is metal. Nah, it's just a little bit of fragments of trash, so we got that out. Okay, good. You just want to look at this O-ring here, make sure it's raised up enough to where it will seal. Make sure that's pushed up in there good. And then you'll be fighting against this spring just a little bit, but not too bad. What I like to do is try to seat it by hand, and then put your screws in. Can line it up good. Now, I've been doing this 30 years and don't use a torque wrench for everything, and some people fuss at me, especially engineers, but I haven't stripped one out yet, and I hadn't had one come back fell off, so we'll leave it at that. All right, guys, 17 millimeter, and I like to use a long ratchet because these can get a little, go in this hole right here. That one wasn't too tight. Okay, good. Let's get her draining. That oil looks pretty doggone good, man. Not much wrong with that, is there? This funnel these guys sent with this is pretty nice. Just screws right on there. It's actually got one for the gear oil too, I think. But let's start with 2.5 quarts, and we'll check it. Crank it and check it. It could hold close to 3. I forget. All right, second quart going in. Let it run just a second. All right, I want to give this about 5 or 10 minutes to run down, guys, before we start checking it again, because you keep a lot of oil up in the head and you want it all to run down, so make sure we get the level correct. A lot of people say, well, you don't really have to use Honda oil, and that is true. But let me just say, yeah, that's pretty close there. Let's see. It's about halfway up on the mark, so we might have to put just a tad more, but I think that's it. Yeah, we're pretty close there. Let me just say that I've torn engines down for clutches and things that's had this oil in it their whole lives. I really haven't seen any oil that keeps an engine as clean as this does. I don't really want to venture from this because I've had great luck with it. So as long as this Gen 4 stays the same, I'm going to keep using it. Alright, off to the diffs. We'll start with the back one. Alright, 17. I like to crack this loose so you can get some air. Alright, so 12 under here. You do not have to take this splash guard down unless you just absolutely want to. Or maybe it is a 10. There goes them rookie mistakes again. It is a 10, okay. So a 10 millimeter down here saves you from having to take the diff guard down. Alright, so I just got this used quart Honda transmission fluid bottle. Let's take the drain plug out here, be really careful. And we'll measure that up. Well, the customer was a little bit afraid that they had gotten some water in the diff, but this looks fine. Boy, it doesn't have much from the factory. We'll put that in a measuring bottle and see how much. I think that might be a little low. Kind of think this is probably the original fluid. There's a little bit of metal in there, just tiny little bit, which is completely normal for the gears to mesh together and bearings to seat. You guys keep an eye here and I'll pour it in. All right, here we go. So looks like about 100 milliliters, which is what, 2 ounces, 2.5? Maybe close to 3 ounces. Yeah, we'll let it run out. I think it had close to 3 ounces in it. All right, let's go see if it was full or not from the factory. All right, so these are 8 ounces, and they give you 2. So we'll continue to add fluid here until we start getting it out right there. Let's get the old handy truss fire light out for you guys. A little bit more light on the subject here. Pretty sure it's going to be more than 3 ounces. Right there. Perfect. Okay, a little bit of the same situation here, except on this particular one, we're going to fill it until the bottom of this fill plug. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. And kind of a similar drain situation. So let's take this out. We'll be able to tell how close to full we are when we get this off. And look, I dropped the O-ring, so be really careful about that. And I'll show you guys how to retain that O-ring on there really good so you don't lose it. But now we gotta find it. Oh, I see it. It rolled way back in there. And there it is. I'll wipe that off and I'll show you in just a little bit. Stick around, I'll show you how to keep that from happening. Alright, let's get it drained. Let's see how full it is. Oh yeah, so I see the gear oil level right up to the top. See that? So what we'll do is we'll fill it in until it starts spilling out right there. Let's get it draining. They were thinking about us technicians sometimes, wasn't they? Okay. So our washer stayed up in there again. Yeah, this looks like factory gear oil here. That looks pretty good. A little bit of glitter in it, but 100% normal. All right, let's add here until we start seeing it. come out. There we go. So that ended up holding about, I think about 4 or 5 ounces. I was going to show you about this O-ring, how you can keep it in place really good. Make sure no grits on it. And for my channel followers, you know about the assembly goo. So this is basically a glorified Vaseline, but it's made for transmissions and stuff, engines. This will kind of dissolve in oil, so you don't have to worry about it, but you put you a good liberal amount on there, push it down in the groove, no way it'll come back out. Now they make some green that's even stickier, but this is all you need. You don't ever have to worry about that falling off now, and it'll stay there till you get, stay put until you get where you want to put it. All right, let's go tighten this up. We'll have the diff serviced. There we go. Make sure you get it good and started by hand. And let's torque that pretty good. Yeah, that'll do it. This stuff's absolutely perfect for those little plastic rubber retainers that hold the fenders on. It comes right off the next time. One good thing about newer Hondas, they're pretty doggone easy to service now. You just have to be careful with this plastic. Get it to go back like it came off. Take your time. Get all the little holders in the places they go. Look at there. And it's got 2 more little push pins to put in. And that was all that held that. What about that? Just want to make sure your seat hooks at the front, snaps at the back, and you'll have it. All there is to it, guys. Alright, I want to give it a little rinse off. Oh yeah, let's check the air in the tires. Honda says 4.4 PSI. So let's see where they're at. I don't prefer to change them much from what the customer leaves them at. You guys can see real time here. So this one has 14.4. So this customer probably prefers a little bit more air. Let's make that an even 14. Some customers that ride on hard pack a little more might want a little bit more air. 4.4 is pretty low if you're going to be on hard pack. Alright, let's see where his rear ones are now. So that one's 12.8. Let's make that an even 13. Okay. Alright, we'll match that up over on the other side now. And take it out and clean it up. Alright everybody, I've been seeing this machine clean on Instagram. And we're going to try it out right here where this is dirty and on the wheels a little bit. And see how it does. It's a pretty safe non-acid cleaner. And it basically says spray it on. You want to rinse this and make it cool to the touch. Spray it on a liberal amount and let it sit for about 30 seconds and rinse it off. So that's what we'll do. You can see the dirt starting to run off of that rear tire. Let's see. Oh man. Boy, it's pretty much just like they advertised it. Look at that. It says don't let it dry. Oh wow. Let it sit on there about 25 or 30 seconds. I just didn't want it to dry on there. In a tough spot, but man. Okay. It absolutely works pretty good. A little spot left on the tire there. It might be something sticky on there though. Yep. Boy. That works pretty good. Alright, let's take it for a ride and see what happens.